Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of the Key Truck build here at MyHondaFix. In this episode today, we're going to be working on installing the lights and doing the rear hitch system. We'll go ahead and get straight into it. Jason is currently working on the brackets for the front light bar. We had to do custom brackets. The LED lights we were installing came off of eBay. Did a lot of research to figure out which ones seemed to be the best for the price. And we went with a company called LED Kingdom. I believe the lights are actually called YITA Motor, Y-I-T-A Motor work lamps. The durability of these things, everything seemed really well except for the wiring harnesses. I did replace a lot of the wiring harnesses. Their stuff seemed kind of small for what we wanted. But other than that, they seem to be a very durable light. They've held up really well so far. We did change the front brackets because we wanted something a little beefier, but the brackets they came with would work. It just wouldn't work for our application. And we purchased the entire setup for, I believe, less than $100. In this episode, I continue to finish up the wiring. It was a very large job to get all this stuff wired up. It takes a lot of time. When you watch these TV shows and people make over vehicles, you don't realize how much time goes into wiring a vehicle. It is quite a bit. He's actually building a two-piece bracket for each side of that light. He took two pieces, created bends, and welded two pieces of metal together to create one bracket for each side. And once he got this welded up, we used the drip tray along the side to weld to. It was a little thicker than the actual sheet metal of the vehicle, and once he welded these in place and we bolted that thing in, it was solid as a rock. You can also see that we used the foam from the light bar kit to actually place it on the vehicle, to seat it where we wanted it, and use the foam to basically protect it and keep it off the vehicle and get the placement correct. And then we taped everything down so that we could mold the brackets up properly and basically have it set in place while we work on the brackets to adapt it to the vehicle. Once the brackets are made, he welds them in place. Everything fits up perfectly. It's centered very well. There was very little variation, less than 1/8 of an inch, so he did a great job welding those things up. Takes the light bar back off, as you can see, and then he will tape it off and paint the brackets on the vehicle. Fairly easy. I continue to work inside the vehicle, basically working on 3 separate relay harnesses for the front bar, the 2 side lights, and the rear 22-inch bar. Again, all from the same company. Very impressed with them. The only thing I would change is the side lights were actually a projection light and not like a field light. They didn't light up, they were a little more focused in one spot, but it was not an option with the kit. You got one or the other, but make sure that you know, if you're wanting to spotlight something, you need projection. If you want like a full field of view, I can't remember what they call it, but there's like a broad spectrum light. They work better for this application, but it still throws out a lot of light to the sides either way. It's just a little more focused in the center. At this point, I believe I'm working on a special bracket for mounting the relays underneath the seat of the vehicle. I found a spot up in the engine bay that is nice and dry. It's a perfect place to mount relays. So they're tucked away and hidden. They're really close to the battery. So my main goal was to get power from the battery to the relays to the lights in as short a distance as possible, running everything down the passenger side on this vehicle in this case, and keeping everything close. Just seems to work a lot better. You have less wire, you have less chance of messing something up. Now Jason has turned his attention to the back of the vehicle where he's going to start building the rear hitch. I'll move the angle here in a second to where you can see it, but as soon as we jack the vehicle up, we pop the tires on. He got a great deal on these wheels and tires as a set. There were takeoffs that somebody couldn't use, so with it being that good of a deal, we couldn't pass it up, but later plan on going to a more aggressive, probably ag style tread for off-roading. At this point I didn't get video footage, but if you look at the rear shackles, those are the extended shackles to give you a 2-inch drop on the rear, and there's front plates that you install in the front of the vehicle. The whole job can be done in about 2 hours or less. It was very easy. It wasn't difficult at all. It was a very easy install, and it was done before I knew it. He actually had the front done before I arrived that morning, and I helped him with the rear before we even set it up the video cameras. So I didn't catch that, but it is a very easy job to do. In the beginning, we took a old Honda CRV receiver and we're going to try to mount it up. That's what you see right now. We ended up doing away with that. We actually cut out the receiver itself off of the CRV complete receiver and end up creating our own bar using 2 pieces of angle iron. We flip them over, welded our own box. You can see it coming in there. I had to grind and get all the paint and clean it up for him. He welded it, turned it into a box, and our big concerns here were dropping it low enough to where you could flip the license plate cover down to get the spare tire out. We also had to avoid the exhaust coming off the left side, and you'll see that we will flip the tailgate down a couple of times, just checking to make sure that when the tailgate drops with the dump bed down, that it doesn't actually hit the receiver itself. And I believe we actually raised it up and managed to get the clearance as well. So that is a huge thing to look for when you're doing that. Hopefully nobody's dumping the bed while they've got something attached like a trailer, but it's nice to know that if you drop that tailgate down, it's not going to slam into the receiver and damage the tailgate. As he continues to work on this receiver, I told you the reasons why we put it where we put it. It was really trying to have the ability to get to that spare tire and keep it in the same location, which worked out perfect. We ended up deciding to go this route too, because we could build a heavier receiver. That is some very heavy angle iron there, but we were able to tie into the left and right side frame rails, right where the shackles bolt up. And if they're distributing all the weight of the vehicle to the shackle right there, then there's no doubt if we weld 2 plates onto the back of that, basically making end caps and then welding our angle iron bar, box stem bar to that, it was solid as a rock. I mean, we could put any amount of weight on that thing. It was really overkill in the end, but it worked out great. And at the end of the video, I'll show you some finished shots of that as he finishes it up and gets it painted. I believe at this point I'm working on the side mount brackets for the side lights. What came with the lights would not work in any way, form, or fashion, so I had to create 2 new brackets basically to bolt the light up to, and I'll be spending some time working on that. At this point I believe the wiring harness is completely finished. As far as being routed to the battery, under the engine, and up into the dash, that is all complete. So he is now welding the CRV receiver onto our new angle iron box frame that we built for the receiver. I continue to work on the brackets. It's really just knocking out small stuff at this point. And hopefully we'll get the front end up soon and get those wheels put on so you can see what it looks like done. And at this point I think we may have 1 more video, possibly 2. I may do a couple small videos showing this thing out in the field. We'll see, but probably 1 to 2 videos just to finish up this build. We're getting pretty close at this point. Again, if you have any questions about the build itself or anything involving the videos, feel free to give us a shout in the comments. I've had several people comment already. I've had some emails with people asking different questions. So, feel free to give me a shout. I'll let you know what we did. If I have any footage, I will put it in there so you can see it. There's definitely a lot more you can do with this vehicle, but we were trying to get all this done under $1,000. So it is very easy to do if you put the time in, and do your own paint job especially. But it is not hard to come up with great ideas on what to do on these things, and it just takes time and effort. And like the hitch bar that we built, it's not too easy to find hitches for these things, especially a bolt-on. You really need to weld it on. You could make a bolt-on Welding is really the way to go, as thin as that box frame is on the back end though. But you can see exactly what we did and basically create and mock up your own if you want to. It's not that hard. I basically, once I got the wiring done, I did loom it in up the back side, so there's an extra layer of protection with the wire loom, the plastic wire loom you can pick up at pretty much any auto parts stores. And I'm routing the wiring up across the top. I did use the drip panel, and eventually I decided to use black silicone in the drip panel to hold that wire in place going to the front light. There really wasn't an easy way unless I went in and drilled inside and didn't really want to bring water into the cab, so I just laid that wire in the drip tray, put a bead of black silicone on there, and it worked perfectly. It also left enough room that if rain does come down off of that, the drip rail still works the same. And being under the silicone, the wires are also in their own insulated sheath. There's no way for water to get in there unless they're, you know, damaged in some form or fashion. You can see at one point we test fire that light. It grabs everybody's attention. It doesn't look very bright in the video, but it lit the whole place up pretty well. I mean, my wife was looking outside and she actually seen the reflection off the house behind it, so extremely bright light. Once we get it leveled out and outside, we leveled it up some. Very easy to do. I did have to make custom screws for it because our brackets were thicker, so I had to basically find a longer Allen screw. I went ahead and put the nut on there, chopped it off to the length I wanted it, and then put a 45-degree chamfer on the end of that Allen head, and then you back the nut off, and it basically, that nut will ensure that it is threaded properly. So as soon as you take that nut off, you can drop it right into the light. It works perfectly. And at this point, he's going to be finishing up doing some final touches on the rear hitch, and I believe I'm now moving on to the center 22-inch light bar for the rear. So in the next episode, you will see the rest of the installation of the rear light bar and the side lights. And that's pretty much it for this episode. I've actually had people messaging me saying, hey, when we see the next one, here it is. Sorry it took so long. And I'll give you a quick shot of the Kentucky sunset, and here's a couple shots of the finished product on the hitch. Eventually we were going to weld end caps on the hitch, just in case you're wondering, to close all that in. Yes, we will. Again, thanks for watching. Sorry this one was so late coming out, but I have been very busy. Hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.